All right, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Go ahead and post your questions. I see we already got some questions in here, so that's awesome. We'll go ahead and get started with those. But go ahead and post your questions there on the right-hand side. You can post any question you want there. Questions about Tuskegee Golf System, 20 distance fix, unlimited swing reviews, distance clinics, ball striking masterclass, whatever you want. Go ahead and post your questions there. I'll be happy to answer those. And then if you're on a mobile device, I think it's below the video, excuse me, is where you can ask the questions. So keep that in mind. But if you're on like a laptop or desktop, should be on the right-hand side. So we'll go ahead and get started here with David F. David F says, in practicing the sumo step drill, my hips extend to the ball at the start of the downswing and I'm standing very vertical prior to impact. Should I try to keep hips back like in the wall drill and side bend through impact in this drill? Yes, you want to be kind of bracing into the ground and then rotating your body open. So it sounds like, so if you're not familiar with what the sumo step drill is, just for others, David, if you don't mind me entertaining the other folks who may not know what this is, basically this is one of the best weight shift drills that you can do. And if you're struggling with your sequencing, meaning starting the swing with a proper weight shift and starting the swing from the ground up, if you are struggling with that, then this is a really, really good drill for you to do. And it's one of the drills that's a part of the 20-minute distance fix because it's sequencing is a very, very important element to getting your maximum amount of distance. So in the step drill, basically what you're doing is you're starting with your feet together and you start that swing going back and you start stepping forward and you want to time that with the downswing here, with the beginning of the downswing. That way you can get pressure put into the ground with that momentum that you force going forward, and then you can get everything rotating through. So it sounds like what David is doing here is what I see oftentimes with this drill is that they'll swing and then they just kind of step forward and their legs are pretty straight. So if we watch here, you can kind of see my legs as I'm doing this. They'll be like this. They'll step forward and then their lead leg is pretty straight. And then they just kind of do this as they come through. So if you want to look at that from this angle, that's going to be if I'm stepping forward, I'm not really bracing into the ground. I'm just stepping forward. And then I just kind of swing my arms through. So what that is doing is it's getting you some momentum moving forward, but it's not allowing you're not able to do anything with it because you're not using your legs at all. So you need to make sure that when you are stepping forward, I'd almost feel like you are kind of getting lower to the ground and you're kind of squatting down into the ground here. And then if you do that, now I've got some flex in my legs here where I can really turn my body and really keep my hips back as I'm coming through instead of doing this where your body's kind of moving toward the ball. So try to go forward when you're stepping forward. Try to feel almost like you are kind of squatting down, getting down lower into the ground, and make sure you have some flex in that lead leg. So that way, when you are pushing into the ground and you want to be pushing down and out away from you, that's going to allow you to rotate your body open instead of having that kind of slide and thrust toward the ball. All right. So Richard S. says, what does it mean to start releasing the club from the max lag position? I've always released the club starting approximately hip high and arriving at impact with a slight amount of shaft lean with left wrist breaking down right at or immediately after impact. I guess because of lack of rotation, when I attempt to continue to rotate, it seems to prevent my release. So Richard, basically what that means is what you're going to see with most tour players is you're going to see they're going to reach a max lag position, and then they're going to start releasing the club from there. So where that usually happens at is we're going up to the top here. We're going up to the top, all the way up to the top here. And now I've got this angle here at the top between my lead forearm and the shaft. That's going to be this angle right here. And then the downswing, that angle as I shallow the club and as the momentum of the club's going in the opposite direction, and as I'm kind of getting into this thumb up position, I'm getting in my max lag position. So that angle tightens to about this position in the swing. When that lead arm is parallel to the ground, that's typically where you're going to see that angle will become the tightest. And then from there, it starts to release. And then we're coming down. So we're here, we're in that max lag position, and then we're coming down, and then it releases out in front, just like that. So that's typically what you're going to see with most tour players. Now, I will say what you see on camera, you're probably thinking that it's releasing later, but the reality is that you're probably releasing earlier than what you're thinking. It just happens very, very slowly in the beginning of the swing. And when the club's very starting to release, the very beginning of the release, it's happening very slowly. So it may not look like it's releasing, but it usually is. I would actually tell you, go out and get the V1 Golf app or any other analyzing app where you can draw lines and stuff on it, and download some tour player swings. I know they got some models on the V1 Golf app that you can use, and you'll see. Sorry, my nose is really itchy today. And you'll see that they'll reach this max angle, and then from there, if you just go a few frames forward, it may look like that. I mean, it's just a few degrees, but it's actually releasing from there. It's almost always typically releasing from there. What you're going to see with most amateurs is that that's happening too early. They'll get the club up here, and either it's starting to release from here, or you'll see maybe they're coming down and they're kind of maintaining it, and then it starts to release a little bit too early from there. Typically, that's what you're seeing. So if that's what you're seeing in your swing, that you'll want to work through the Top Speed Lag course. To get to that course, you just click at the house icon at the top of the page there. It looks like a little house. That'll take you to the home page. If you scroll down the home page, you'll see all the courses. Just click on the Top Speed Lag course and get started there. But that's most likely what's happening there if you're having trouble with that release. But that's what that means. The max lag position basically just means that's where the angle between your lead arm and the shaft gets the tightest. And what you see with most of the best players is that's usually happening about when that lead arm is parallel to the ground. It's usually happening a lot earlier for amateur players. That max lag position is either at the top of the swing or it's somewhere in here. People start casting or releasing the club usually way before the lead arm reaches parallel to the ground in the downswing. So I look at your swing, go in super slow-mo with it, and then just kind of measure the angles. Try to find where that angle is the sharpest. You can usually do that visually. If you just go frame by frame by frame, you can have an idea of when that angle gets the sharpest and when that angle starts to get the biggest. And usually that's going to be happening when it's lead forearm to the ground. You're saying that it's happening for you about hip level. So that would mean your swing would look something like this. You'd come down, you would be sharpening up that angle, and it would be kind of something like in this area. And people don't swing that way. So I'm guessing that that's not really what's going on there. All right. So Michael C says, Q, I need a drill to work on folding my left arm after impact. I'm stuck in keeping both arms extending in a very bad attempt to get into the straight line release position. And that extension is causing my left shoulder to pull up out of my weight stuck on my right side. I need help. So it sounds like that this is probably a weight shift issue. And also, basically what happens if you're having trouble getting full extension in the swing, it's almost always because the body, you're not sequencing properly, you're not getting a proper weight shift, and you're not getting the body to open up as you're coming down. So if you watch it, let's say that I kind of stay on my trail side and I don't really rotate open my body. What's going to happen is I'm coming through, I'm going to do that action. And I'm gonna basically do this chicken wing action. I'm not gonna get good extension through the ball. Whereas if I get a good weight shift, now I'm to my lead side. Now I'm able to use the ground to rotate my body open, and now I can rotate my body open and get that nice full extension as I'm coming through there. So it sounds like it's a weight shift issue. What I recommend working on is something that I mentioned earlier, which is the step drill. That's a really good drill to help you to get the proper sequencing. To get that started correctly and to get you using your body, your lower body, to get things opening up, get that lower body leading the way. That's how you're going to be able to get that. If it's not that, it's hard for me to know without seeing your swing. So if it's not that, then give me a little bit more information about what's going on. I'll try to help. But it would be really helpful if I could see your swing, If you'd like to send me your swing, I do offer an unlimited swing review program. I may not have spots available right now. You'll have to go to the website and see. I believe I might have one spot available if it hasn't been taken up already. But those spots go fast. So if you're interested, if there's not a spot there, go ahead and join my waiting list. So the easiest way to go to my unlimited swing review program and or Robin's program, you can just click on the get a review link at the top of the page. You can also click above the video. I believe it says learn more about working with a top speed golf instructor one-on-one. It says something like that. If you click on that, that'll take you to the unlimited swing review page as well. So, but you can get there at any time from the get review at the top of the page. But if you click on that, if you scroll down, you'll see. Well, first of all, you want to go through there, and so you can see more about what it's about. And if you have questions about what all swing reviews entail and all that, feel free to ask on here as well. But yeah, if there's not any spots available, go ahead and join the waiting list there. So that way you'll get notified next time spots do become available. But that step drill is going to be one that you want to work on. You can find that in the 20-minute distance fix course. There's also several other videos on the website where you can see that. But that sumo step drill, it's in the week 1 material of the 20-minute distance fix course. So if you just go to the instruction tab at the top of the screen there, hover your mouse above that, and that'll expand a menu. At the very top of that menu that's been expanded, you'll see the 20-minute distance fix. Go ahead and click on that, and that'll bring you to the 20-minute distance fix. If you want to go straight to the sumo step drill, then go to the week 1, expand that, and then click the sumo step drill. I believe it's drill 1.2 in there or something like that. So go ahead and click on that and get started. But I would highly recommend that if you haven't gone through the course, I would highly recommend that you go through that course and work through that. And if you want the help of an instructor, the best way to do it is to go through it with Unlimited Swing Review Program. So make sure that you're on track the entire time and you're getting the most out of it. So Richard S. says, exactly what does the release consist of? Attempting to take thumbs down or what? So let me read that again. Richard S. says, exactly what does the release consist? Attempting to take thumbs down or what? Well, I'm not sure exactly what the last part of that means, but I can tell you what the release is and what we call the release. I think there's other instructors that might call the release something else, but with the release, what we call the release is basically where the club head, where you're swinging through, and it's usually hopefully happening after contact, and it's basically where the club is splitting the forearm. So you can see here the club. If you extend this club up, you're going to see that that's bisecting my forearms there. That's what we call the release. This would be a good release right here. Typically, we like to see that about 45 degrees out in front. Your average tour player is going to be around 40, 41, but there's some tour players that release it 28 degrees out in front, and there's some that release it 55 degrees out in front. So 45 degrees is a good number to shoot for. What you see with most amateur players is that's 15 to 20 degrees out in front. It's usually releasing. People have just a tiny bit of forward shaft lean, and then it's releasing about right in there, which would be about 15, 20 degrees out in front. So that'd be an early release. You're not going to be able to get as much compression on the golf ball. Your impact's not going to be as stable. You're going to be adding loft to the club face, so you're not going to hit it as far. So there's all kinds of reasons why you want to have forward shaft lean, because basically forward shaft lean is a product of releasing that club out in front. All right. So Janet A says, I gave up on the top speed months ago, felt too technical. This week I went back to the beginning and just reviewed stable fluid spine. Last 2 times I played, I just changed my posture and made a huge difference. And all my woods and rescues, not the irons. Do you have a suggestion for irons that is not too technical? Is the posture of the spine different for irons than woods? First of all, anytime you're working on technique, with the top speed golf system, it's all about your technique. It's all about how you're positioning your body. So it's definitely going to be technical, but you definitely want to focus on your impact along with that as well. Everything you do with your technique, it has to be to improve what's going on at contact. So you're kind of asking me to give you technical advice, but that isn't too technical. that's kind of a slippery slope, and it's kind of in the eye of the beholder a little bit too. But basically, your spine angles aren't going to be much different for the ride. There can be slight differences between the irons and the driver, but for the most part, they're going to be pretty much the same. So at address, we like to see about 6 to 8 degrees angled away at address. That can be closer to 6 degrees with an iron, closer to 8 degrees with a driver. But again, you're talking a very little variance there. You can be a little bit more angled away with the driver if you want. The only reason why I say you can be more angled away with the driver is because that can help promote a little bit more upward angle of attack, which is what you want to have with the driver. So oftentimes I will see a little bit more of a spine angle, a little bit more angled away with the driver. And the same thing's kind of true with wedges. Wedges, we want to promote kind of a downward angle attack. We want to chop down into the golf ball, but we also want a little bit of downward angle of attack to promote some good ball first contact and to promote some good spin as well. And kind of also a lower launching type of shot. So that makes wedges a little bit easier. So I don't mind you being a little bit more vertical, but we don't want to be leaning toward the target for an iron. So like I said, you can be, if you're looking at the difference between a wedge and a driver, you can be a little bit more vertical than what we say with a wedge and a little bit more angled away with a driver. But honestly, you can use the exact same spine angle for any of them. Now, as far as this kind of spine angle, I'm not sure if you mean this spine angle or if you mean this spine angle, but your spine angle from looking from down the line, you're going to be more upright with the driver, and that's just because it's a longer club. If you look at the difference here, if I hold these two up, there we go. So if I hold these two up, you're going to see that the driver, it's dang near a foot longer than the wedge here. So because of that, I'm going to need to bend over a little bit more for the wedge. Let my arms hang pretty much straight down, and then for the driver, I'm going to stand a little bit more upright, and I might reach just a little bit for the driver, and that's just because it's a little bit longer. So that's really the only big differences between your spine angles there. But if you're looking for more feel type stuff, more just ball striking type stuff, if you're not into kind of the technical and technique side of the swing, which is completely fine, we do offer a course that's called our Ball Striking Masterclass. We offer this, every now and then as students work through the program. Basically, it's a 90-day course, and we have people work through the course. It's an all online, just like the Tosby Golf system. It does include access to a Facebook group, which is part of the reason why we have to offer it every month or two, essentially. But it does give you access to a Facebook group. And what that Facebook group does is I go in the Facebook group and people ask questions and I give them answers and so on and so forth. So they can also post swings on the Facebook group and I give them feedback on their swing, tell them, hey, this is why you might be having trouble with this. This is why you do great with this. Here's something you could do to help with that, and so on and so forth. So basically, it's a good way to get some feedback on your swing. So we do offer that. We do plan on offering that sometime in November. So be on the lookout in your email next month for an opportunity to sign up for that. But yeah, if that's not a technical type of program, that's going to be focused all on what's going on at Impact. And it's what we call the Big Four. And what the Big Four is number one is your strike location. So strike location, obviously, very, very important. That's something we'll work on in the course. Number two is going to be your face angle. So that's the direction that the club face is pointing at contact. The ball is always going to start mostly in that direction. So obviously, that's very important. We're also going to work on club path. So that's the side-to-side movement of the club head as it's working through contact. So if you ever hear somebody say they're swinging in to out or out to in, that's in reference to the club path. So the ball is mostly going to start in the direction of the club face and then curve away from the club path. So if you're hitting a big old slice that starts straight and then curves way to the right, it's most likely that your club path is too much out to in if you're a right-handed golfer and you need to maybe work on your club path. What this course is going to do is going to help you understand the relationship between your face and your path, and it's going to allow you to be able to straighten out those shots. It's going to improve your your awareness of that, your skill level with being able to do that. And then the last piece of the big four, number 4, is your ground contact. And this is basically where the club is striking the ground in relationship to the golf ball. Obviously, we want that ball first contact, and then we want the ground contact afterwards. So if you're struggling with chunking shots or really thinning shots, you take no divots at all, you may need to work on your skill level of getting ground contact. That could also be a technique issue that you may need to work on. And that may be something that I bring up if you come into the Facebook group. But absolutely, those are the 4 things that we focus on there. There's very, very little technique in there. And honestly, you don't have to work on any technique if you want to. That program will basically takes the swing that you have right now, and it improves your skill level as it pertains to those 4 things that I talked about, your awareness of those things, your coordination, your athleticism. Basically, it improves all those things to lower your handicap. But if you pair that with maybe one piece of technique, if you have the time to practice on that, then you can improve even faster. And then once you're done with the program, then you can take what you've learned from the ball striking masterclass and pair that with the Top Speed Golf system. You'll kind of get the best of both worlds, and you'll be able to practice your technique and also the ball striking at the same time and be able to get really, really good results. So that's a program that we offer, that we'll be offering next month. Enrollment into that, if you are interested, make sure to be on the lookout in your email for that. It's a one-time fee of $147 to do the program. You'll have access to all the videos in the program for as long as you are an all-access member. You will lose access to the Facebook group after the program is over. But always, if you have questions, you can always come here. And then if you want additional feedback on your swing, you can sign up for my Unlimited Swing Review program. And I hold spots available for those that are in the ball striking masterclass toward the end for those that want to sign up at that time. So you will have that opportunity if you do the ball striking masterclass. So any other questions about the ball striking masterclass, feel free to ask. I'll be happy to answer any questions. All right. So Paul S says, so should I concentrate on swinging right arm back and through? I'm left-handed, but play right-handed frame. All right. So yeah, you want to use both hands. Actually, there's actually a video that Clay recently came out with. I think it was last week or the week before, where he talks about, do you swing with your right hand or with your left hand? So it's just going to be opposite. Well, actually, if you're playing right-handed, it's not going to be opposite for you. So basically, in the beginning of the swing, as you were starting down, there's going to be a lot of trail arm and hand involved. So it's like if you're a pitcher and you're getting ready to pitch a ball, right? There's a lot of hand involved back in this area, and then you release that, right? Well, as you're releasing it, your lead hand's going to take over more, and it's going to need to be putting a lot of pressure into this grip so that it can hold on to it and whip that club through. So that's where you're releasing it here. So it's almost like with the right hand, you're coming through, and it's almost like you're releasing it, you're letting it go. And then with the trail hand, you are holding on to it and letting that club really whip through there. So that's basically what you're doing there. So you're really using both. But what I recommend doing is go check out that video that Clay talked about, so you can get more of a visual of what's going on there. But that's what I'd recommend there. So Roman Z says, is there any good way to download the videos so that I can play them with a decent player that allows play speed and step-by-step frame moves? What I'd recommend is something called the V1 Golf app. That's what we use, instructors here. V1 Golf makes a pretty good app, I think. So if you go to it's available, it's for free on Google or Android store, or your Apple iTunes or wherever you get your apps there. I'm not an Apple user, so I do have an iPad, but I don't have an iPhone or anything like that. But if you want to use either of those apps, you can use those, and you can film your swing with the app and then go frame by frame, draw lines on it and things like that. It is completely free. They do have, once you sign up, they are going to ask you to sign up for a premium version. You don't need that. The premium version, I think it gives you some other drawing tools. I think it might give you some more model swings. I'm not sure what else it gives you. I don't think that it removes ads. If it removes ads, I would think about, obviously if you don't like ads, I would think about maybe doing the premium version. But I don't think that you get the no ads part. So I think there's still ads even if you pay for it, which doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, so you don't need that if you don't want it. It's a completely free app. So I would recommend using that. I'm sure there are others out there. We used to recommend another app that I really like. It's called Huddle Technique, but they changed things now where you have to be invited by a coach in order to use the app, and we don't have anything to give anyone to be able to do that. So unfortunately, that app, you may not be able to use that unless you're working on that with another instructor. Unfortunately, like I said, we don't have anything we can give you, but I'm sure there are other apps as well. I mean, I imagine there are. So try some out, see what you like. But the V1 Golf app is what we use. It's what I know. I know it works. And if you ever plan on doing unlimited swing reviews, that is the app that we use for unlimited swing reviews. So if you're interested in doing that, I would maybe get acquainted with the app so that you can more easily use it when it's time to do unlimited swing reviews. But that's the app that I'd recommend. All right. So go ahead and get your questions on here. I'll be on here till about right at 10. I do have a meeting shortly after office hours today, so I won't be able to stay any longer after. So go ahead and get your questions on here. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. So David F. has another question here. It says, I worked a lot on my inside-out path and had a very good round. 2 days later, I had a bad case of the shanks and blocking the ball outside to the right, and took 2/3 of the round for me to correct. Please weigh in on what happened and how I should practice and adjust if this happens again. So it sounds like what you're doing is you're overdoing the inside out. So you want to be slightly inside out. So when I say slightly inside out, usually what you're going to see in better players, you're going to see 1 or 2 degrees inside out. It's typically what you're going to see. Maybe 3 degrees. But if you're more than that, then you're going to be susceptible to hooks, blocks, and also shanks. And I'll explain the reasons here in a second. So here's what you want to understand about ball flight. The ball is always going to start mostly in the direction of the club face and then curve away from the club path. The closer your face and your path are together, the less curvature you're going to have. And the more they are apart, the more curvature you're going to have. So if my face is pointing that way and my path is pointing that way, there's going to be a lot of curvature on that shot. If my face and my path are both pointed that way, then there's not going to be a lot of curvature on the shot. So that's what's happening on your blocked shots. When you're blocking the ball, your path is too much into out. So you're too much toward, if you think about it, a baseball field in front of you, it's too much toward first base. So you just want to be slightly on the other side of second base with your path. Typically, or right at second base is good too. But if you are too much toward first base, basically you have to time this face perfectly so that you would hit a kind of a heavy draw essentially, or you have a poor strike on the face that maybe cancels out whatever face and path ratio that you may have. And that's called gear effect, and I'll get to that here in a second. So if you are swinging too much into out and your face is kind of in line with that path, then that means that your ball is going to start to the right and it's going to keep on going in that same direction without much curvature, assuming center face contact. So that's what's going on there. Now, something that's called gear effect is when you strike it, when you have an off-center strike. So if you strike the ball more on the toe, what's going to happen is that face is going to torque open a little bit. It's going to twist open, and then it's going to put a little bit of right-hand spin on the ball. So the easiest way to kind of think about this is to think that the the ball on the face actually is going to roll toward the center. So when you hit the ball, let's say it's coming in, I'm hitting it off the toe here. That's going to twist the face open. That ball is on the club face for like a split second. So it's going to roll toward the center of the face. So the ball will start a little bit more to the right, and then it'll have that right-hand spin on it. Whereas if you hit it on the heel, it's kind of the opposite effect. The face, it'll hit the face and then it'll twist closed a little bit. So it'll start a little bit more to the left. And then it will, when it's on that face for a split second, it will roll toward the center. And that's going to put kind of the slice spin on there, fade spin on there. So if you hit in the center of the face, it's just going to come down to your face and path and what's going on there. So your face and your path are a big part of what starts what you see with your ball flight. But if you hit it on off center strike, that kind of adds another caveat in there. So what I'd recommend doing is swing less out to in, or into out, excuse me. You want to swing less into out. And here's how it can cause shanks if you swing too much into out as well. So if I'm swinging down on plane here, my center of the club face is just moving right toward the golf ball. Now, if we think about it this in an extreme sense, and I think I'm swinging really into out, look what's moving toward the golf ball. The hosel is. So you have to time that pretty well to get rid of that. So it sounds like you're just overdoing the into out. So I would just ease off of the into out a little bit to get it to go straighter. The best way to kind of work on this and work on your path and getting control of that is to really practice hitting draws and fades and straight shots. So I'd actually go out to the range and I'd alternate hitting a draw, a fade, and then a straight shot. And what that will do is it will give you awareness, a better awareness and control of your face and your path. And it will help you understand where the middle is, where the center is. This is the kind of stuff that we do in the ball striking masterclass. So highly recommend that you may want to take that, but you're just overdoing the into out. So just ease off of it. And if that happens in the future, you get a shank or you get a block out to the right, it just means you're overdoing the into out. I would just ease off of it a little bit to get that ball to straighten out and to be more in the center of the face. You may even want to feel like you're hitting it off the toe a little bit. It's adjusting your feeling to get the desired result that you want. All right. So David, let me know if you have any further questions about that. David F. David W. has a question here. It says, sometimes on the tee box, my right foot flies back, especially when ground is damp. Can you tell me what causes this? Am I just overswinging? Kind of a little bit. So what causes this is using the upper body to begin the swing, to begin the downswing. So what you're doing is you go up to the top here, you're at the top, and then your first move down is this kind of motion, is the arms kind of chopping down. And when you do that, your trail foot is going to try to brace itself and it's going to slip. So what you want to do is make sure that you get a proper weight shift, get up to the top, get your proper weight shift to the lead side. And then that's going to allow you to start the swing with your legs and allow you to rotate open instead of your trail foot's going to be a lot more passive when you do that, because you're going to have that slight little lateral shift. And then now the rotation is going to be coming from your lead foot and you're going to be able to rotate open. So there's a great drill to work on this. It's a sumo step drill. I'm not sure if you were here earlier when we talked about this drill, but it's a step drill. It's to help you get that proper weight shift in the golf swing and help you to get that swing started from the ground up. It all starts with a proper weight shift. So once you get a proper weight shift, then that better sequencing can happen. So what I'd recommend in general is just to work through the 20-minute distance fix to help you get more yards. We're having people in there getting crazy results in there. So you may as well just work through the whole thing. But if you just want to quick go to that 20-minute distance fix and work on that step drill, it's in the week 1 materials. I believe it's video 1.2 from week 1. Sumo step is what it's called. It's also in the quick start video as well. QS1, the quick start. So I'd recommend go in there. The best way to get to the 20-minute distance fix, if you go to the instruction tab at the top of the screen there, you hover your mouse cursor over that, that'll expand a menu. And at the very top of that menu, you'll see 20-minute distance fix. Click on that, and that will take you to the 20-minute distance fix course where you can get started on that sumo step drill. On the right-hand side, once you get to the course, you'll see quick start. And then I think you'll see like unnecessary, not required videos or something like that. And then you'll see the week 1 materials. If you click on that little triangle, that'll expand that with those week 2 materials, and then you can get started right in there. So yeah, the sumo step drill is going to be week 2. All right. So Dennis G says, I'm having trouble keeping my upper body staying back coming through impact. What can I work on to help? Thanks, Q. So Dennis G, let me read that again. So Dennis G says, I'm having trouble keeping my upper body staying back coming through impact. Staying back. What can I work on to help? Thanks, Q. So are you saying, give me a little bit more information, Dennis? Are you like sliding into impact? So your compression line is kind of like this. You're like that at contact, or I guess I'm having a little trouble understanding what you're saying here. Your upper body staying back through impact. So it sounds like to me you're probably not using your legs very much. You're just kind of sliding. But if you want to confirm that for me, I'll be happy to help. And if you have any more questions, go ahead and post them on here. I will be on here until about 10 a.m. Eastern time. I won't be on here any longer than that. I do have a meeting after this I have to get to. So I won't be able to stick around and answer any extra questions after 10. But I'll be happy to stay on here until 10 to answer your questions. Dennis, like I said, if you want to give me a little bit more information there, I can basically try to answer this, assuming that you're kind of sliding forward. So I think what Dennis is trying to say is that he's kind of sliding forward as he's coming into impact. He's having trouble kind of staying behind the ball. So there's a couple of things that you can do. First of all, what you want to do is maybe widen your stance a little bit, because if you're very narrow with your stance, I see this all the time. People come to our distance clinics and they come to us with a pretty narrow stance. They're kind of like in this area here. So their feet are inside shoulder width apart. And then in the downswing, they kind of come down and they chop down into the ball, which is not going to be good for distance. So what I'd recommend doing is, you're having trouble staying behind the ball, is widen your stance a little bit. Get a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. That's going to help you to stay behind the ball as you're coming through here. It's also going to make it a lot easier to use the ground. Now, you can't go too wide, obviously. If you go too wide, then you're going to have trouble rotating and things like that. But if you kind of find that happy medium that works the best for you, for me, that's kind of like in this area, a little bit outside of shoulder width is kind of a good area for me. That allows me to have enough to be able to rotate my body and have enough mobility. And it also allows me to use the ground pretty well so that I can turn and things like that. So that's what I'd recommend. Another thing that I'd recommend doing is just working through the compression line course, getting to where you're using the legs properly, working through that compression line course, getting this, because if you are sliding forward and not staying behind the ball, that means that you're probably bumping your hip out. That means that you're probably your compression line is probably angled or toward the target or too vertical. Maybe working through that compression line course would help. I would need to kind of see your swing to know exactly what's going on. It could be that you just need to use your legs to rotate a little bit more. You're just kind of swinging upper body mostly, and you're not using your legs to kind of brace and rotate into impact. So a good drill for that is the kick the clutch drill. So that drill is where Clay talks about, kicking the clutch in your car. And that's kind of the feeling that you want to have in the downswing, is that you're kicking the clutch. And that's going to help you to rotate this hip back and out of the way so that you can stay behind the ball. Because if you're not kicking the clutch, then you're kind of going to be doing this. Now, I also see people who straighten out that leg and they just kind of go like that. And that's not what you want to do either. You want to be pushing this hip back and out of the way, rotating, clearing the body open so that you can hit the ball with some good power. So to get to those drills, so you can first, just a summary of what I just talked about. I would just try widening your stance. That may fix it right off the get-go, because you may intuitively do a lot of the things that I just talked about because you're wider with your stance. That's a quick win right there. So hopefully that helps. If you're kind of in a narrower stance already, widening that stance can help out quite a bit. Number two, I'd go to that compression line course and take a look at your swing on camera, see what's going on there. Make sure that compression line looks good, and work through the compression line course if you need to. To get to the compression line course, you can click on the house icon at the top of the page there. It's a little house at the top. That'll take you to the homepage. If you scroll down the homepage, you'll see all the courses on the website, and you can click on the compression line course and get started there. If you want to try out that kick the clutch drill, I'd recommend just searching that on the website. In the upper right-hand corner of the website, you'll see search of this website, and then you'll see a little search button. Just type the word clutch in there. CLUTCH. Type the words clutch in there, and you can find that clutch drill. Kick the clutch for better hip rotation or something like that is the one that I'm talking about. So highly recommend that. And if you're ever looking for anything specifically on the website, that search engine works pretty darn good. I'd recommend using that if you're ever looking for something specific. So let's say you're curious about your grip or whether you've got that right or not, or you're looking for something specifically on hip rotation, or you're looking for something specifically on one plane swing versus two plane swing, or things like that. Search that in the search engine, and you'll most likely find some pretty good results there. So that's what I'd recommend doing for sure. All right, so I will be right back, Richard, with your question. I have to just go take care of something real quick, so I will be right back. All right, had to take care of that. My nose was itching like crazy, so had to take care of that. So Richard S says, do you continue to rotate through impact right through the finish, or do you allow the momentum carry you through M? So basically, you want to have the feeling that you're continuing to rotate all the way around as much as you can. There's definitely going to be some momentum that's also helping you to come around there. But basically, you're going to feel like you're really, really rotating until you get down to that straight line release. So that's going to be about right there. And then from there, that's when the club kind of overtakes the arms. And there's some momentum that can bring you all the way around. But you also want to make sure that you're continuing to rotate as you're coming through impact. Because if you just get to here and then you just stop your rotation and just let the club come through, you're going to end up in kind of that position. You need to get that club into the release and then keep rotating as you're coming all the way through. Ideally, you'd like to have your hips pointing at the target or even a little bit left of the target if you can. It really just depends on your flexibility. But at the target is good. And then have your shoulders pointed a little bit left of the target. If you can have your shoulders pointed way left of the target, then that's even better. That just means you're letting your momentum come all the way around into a full finish. But you're going to need to feel like you're continuing to rotate. I will tell you, what I see in people that struggle the most with rotation are two things. One, a poor weight shift. They don't shift their weight to their lead side. Either they don't do it at all, they stay on their trail side the entire time, or they fall backwards in the downswing, or they do it too late. So they don't shift their weight, the arms race out in front of the body, and then once the club releases, and now you've got momentum, that brings them around into a finish, or an abbreviated finish or something like that. So that's typically what I see when people struggle with the finish. The other thing that I see is that they don't get that trail heel coming off the ground. They keep it planted. So they might shift their weight. They might get their weight shifted properly, so they're coming down, but they don't allow this heel to come off the ground. If you don't bring this heel off the ground, it's going to act as an anchor for your hips. It's like your hips are the boat, and you've released an anchor, and your anchor's on the sea floor here, and that's your heel, and it's just kind of, you're trying to drag it on there. You got to go ahead and let that come all the way up off the ground and get all the way up on your toes there. What you should see when you're looking from down the line is you should see all the spikes on the bottom of the shoe there, and when you're in the full finish position. So those are usually the biggest things that I see. Again, weight shift drill. There's not a better drill out there than the step drill. I don't really know of any other good drills other than that. You want to make sure that you're nice and loaded up, and then you get that nice momentum shift to your lead side, rotation all the way through into contact. And then once you get that, maybe you need to focus on the trail heel coming off the ground. Maybe you need to focus on getting your belt buckle pointed toward the target, getting your chest pointed left of the target. There's all kinds of things that you kind of focus on that can help you get to that nice full finish position. So highly recommend kind of working on some of those things. So like I said, I'll be on here for another 15 minutes. So if you got any more questions, go ahead and post them on there. If not, like I said, we'll be back here Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. You can join me at that time. But go ahead and get your questions posted on here for now. If you got any questions before the weekend, I'll be happy to answer them for you. All right. So yeah, I'll be on here till right at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Like I said, I do have a meeting I need to get to. So won't be able to stay longer. If you have any questions, go ahead and get them posted on there now. And we'll get them answered. Any questions about the Top Speed Golf system, the ball striking masterclass, 20-minute distance fix, unlimited swing reviews. All right. So Fred A says, why is it important to grip it in your fingers rather than the palm of your hand? So you're actually going to be gripping it in both. You're not completely gripping the club in your fingers like that, and you're not completely gripping the club in your palm like that. I guess this is still kind of in your fingers as well, but that's more in the palm. You kind of want to have the best of both worlds. So here's why you want to grip it a little bit in the fingers. Have it a little bit in the fingers. The reason for that is to have mobility in your grip. So if I were to have it in my palm, way in my palm like this, more down the lifeline of my hand, if I was in this kind of position, it's hard for me to hinge this club. If you're casting the club and you're gripping the club like this, or if you're gripping the club like this, you're almost guaranteed to cast because you can't really set the club. So if I have it, it's hard for me to even grip the club this way. Now, this is how you'd want to grip your putter, right? Because you don't want to be hinging the wrists or anything like that. That's a great way, and you're more upright. So this is exactly how you want to grip your putter. But to be more dynamic in your swing, you do not want to grip your golf club this way. So if you see here, I have it it's just hard for me to do, to be honest, and to think about taking a full swing. So if I get here, you can see I can't set my wrist. I'm already coming down here. I've got this as far this way as I can, and I'm casting the club like crazy. So you're almost guaranteed to cast the club if you grip it too much in the palm. Now, if you grip it too much in the fingers, so now I'm in this area here, now I don't have a lot of security in my grip. I don't have a good hold on it because I just have my fingers on it. And sure, I can hinge my wrist like crazy. That looks awesome. But I don't have a lot of grip security, and I'm not going to be able to hold on to it or have much control of the club. So you kind of want to have the best of both worlds, a little bit in the palm, a little bit in the fingers. And that's what we call the short thumb. So the easiest way to know whether you're doing that or not is, number one, you've got a little bone right here in your wrist. If you kind of feel around right on your wrist right there, you'll feel there's a little knobby bone right there. So ideally, you'd want it to be about right there on that, close to that bone, just on that side of that bone. If it's on this side, that's too much in the palm. If it's too much like that, it's too much in the fingers, right? So we want to have that right there, kind of right on that knob, basically right there. And then you can see there, I'm able to, I have the short thumb here. That'd be a long thumb. This would be too short, but that's a good short thumb. In your hand geometry may be different than mine. Your thumb may look shorter, a little bit shorter, a little bit longer than mine. But as long as you're kind of on that knob there and you're allowing your fingers to kind of spread out. Now I've allowed my fingers to kind of spread out onto the grip. Now, not only do I have good grip security, I have great control of this club, but I also am able to hinge this club nicely. So now you can see I can get lag here in the downswing, and that's really, really important. So that's basically what you want to do. We do have some grip videos on the website. If you want to see some crazy detail videos, we actually name them crazy detail. You can find those. You can just search the word grip and look for that crazy detail videos. There's also plenty of other videos about the grip as well if you want to check those out. But the most important thing is just kind of finding that happy medium of security and mobility, in the grip that allows you to have most control and security and speed. All right, so Dennis G asked, where can we find the Office Hours archive? So good question. If you go to the Office Hours tab at the top there, and you let that expand down, you hover your mouse over it, let that menu expand down. If you go to Office Hours Highlights, the Office Hours Highlights page, you can go in there and see the highlights from last week, and kind of basically the questions that I handpicked from that week to be the best ones. And you can take a look at those as well. But below those highlights, you'll see the archive ones. You'll see everyone, all the office hours that we did. There's a playlist there. You can choose. You can just kind of expand that playlist, and you'll be able to choose which day office hours you want to check out. But yeah, that's where you can find that, the office hours archive in the highlights as well. And the schedule, if you're wanting to see the schedule of the office hours for the week. Just in general, schedule is Monday and Thursday is in the afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday are 9 a.m. Eastern time. And those are always barring change. There's a possibility, I may need to move my schedule around, but we'll always let you all know when that happens or if we need to cancel or something like that. So keep that in mind. We'll put that on the page. All right. So Richard S. says, when should we begin shifting weight forward, and can that be adjusted according to the individual E? So I'm not sure if that was the end of the sentence there, but no, you basically want to be shifting the weight at the same time for all clubs. And when that shift happens, that momentum shift, that is in the last part of the backswing. Sorry, I've been trying to sneeze the entire time and finally got one out. All right, so basically what you'll see, if you go on V1 Golf, download any tour model, what you're going to see is if you draw a line on the outside of their hips down to their ankle, you'll find that in the backswing, they'll never cross into that line. There's no sliding. You may see a slight slide out of some tour players, but pretty much all tour players don't cross into that line. But you'll see that they rotate into that line. And then as they start to reach the very, very top of the swing, you're going to see the momentum is moving this way. And that way, that's when that weight shift is happening. So what you want to understand is the difference between a weight shift, momentum shift, and a pressure shift. So a lot of people, I think, equate your weight shift to what you're feeling in your feet. What you're feeling in your feet is pressure. That's not momentum. Now, momentum can make a difference in the pressure that you're feeling in your feet, but the timing of it is going to be based on the amount of pressure that you're putting into the ground. So it's almost like walking, right? So if I'm taking a step and I'm walking this way, I'm putting pressure into the ground going back behind me. There's no pressure going in my lead foot, but my momentum is going that way. So my weight is shifting that way while my pressure is going that way. That's what's happening in the last part of the backswing, is that you get about here, you're starting to get, depending on how short your swing is, that's when it can be based on the individual. I wouldn't say lead arm parallel to the ground, because some people's swings might just be right here, and it may need to happen a little bit earlier than that. So it really just, that can depend on the length of your swing. But if you just think in a sense, in the very last part of the backswing is when that weight should be shifting, but you're still gaining pressure in your trail foot as you're doing that. And then once you're about ready to start down, then that pressure will shift to your lead foot, and that's when you can start down with the downswing. And the best way to work on that is with that step drill. There's very good ways to work on that, but just a great video that's not from the 20-minute distance fix, because we do have the sumo step drill in there, but another great video where Clay kind of explains it in a way that may pertain a little bit more to your question would be to how to start the downswing video. So if you just search the word downswing, in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see a search box there. Just search the word downswing. And I believe it's the third video down, unless that's changed a little bit. But the video is called How to Start the Downswing. If you search that, you'll find that'll be the third or fourth entry on there. And then to make sure you have the right one, it'll have some yellow lettering in the thumbnail that will tell you that it just says downswing in the thumbnail. So highly recommend that video. Clay demonstrates a step drill on that one, as well as some other information that I think will help you understand exactly what's going on there. So John H., and this will probably be the last question for today, unless we have one more quick one after that. or if this one takes me too long, then as I do have to get going here. But John H says, I released the club too late. What drill helps me release the club at the correct time in my swing? That would be, that's a very easy, quick question to answer. The straight line release course. I'd be working through all the courses in there to work on your release. Releasing the club too late is actually very rare. I would venture to say that you're actually probably not doing that. I almost never see it. So I would imagine that that's not really what's going on there, but maybe it is. If you're holding the club through, because it might be that you are holding on to that and then you're releasing, which again, release the club. All right. So the straight line release course is going to be where you're going to want to go to work on that. To get to that course, just click the house icon. That's going to take you to the home page. And that house icon is just a little house at the top of the page there. If you click on that, that's going to take you to the home page. If you scroll down that home page, you'll see all the courses that we offer on the website. You'll want to work on that straight line release course. One that may be really good for you is basically where you take if you're releasing the club too late, like you're actually doing that, you want to just adjust your feeling to get the desired result that you want. So I would actually adjust your feeling to kind of feeling like you're flipping, and that may help you to release the club a little bit better. So that would be instead of putting something 4 feet out in front of the ball to release to, I maybe put something 2 feet in front of the ball and kind of work on releasing to that, and then get used to doing that, and then you'll get much better results there, or you'll be able to adjust your feeling to get the desired result. So if you have any last minute questions, go ahead and put them on there. If not, we'll go ahead and get off here. So David K, looks like he's got one extra question here. Just a second here. Excuse me, Dave. My nose is running a little bit. Sorry about that. So David K says, when I get club in lag position ready to release, sometimes I shank the ball. What is the cause? So typically when you are trying to do this, a lot of times what happens is that you'll really, really extend this club out, and you'll get that hosel closer to the golf ball. So what I'd recommend doing is just try to strike the ball off the toe when you're working on your lag. Intentionally try to strike the ball off the toe, and that will move the strike closer to the center. So basically what's going on here, when you're trying to shank or when you're trying to get lag, you are shanking the ball. So you're feeling that you're hitting it off the center, but the reality is that you're hitting it off the hosel here. So what I'd recommend doing is adjust your feel to hitting it off the toe so that you actually hit it off the center of the face. And if you still hit it off the hosel or really off the heel, you'll just want to exaggerate that even more. You may even need to feel like you are coming in with the club like this to the golf ball, like you're missing the golf ball to the inside. That may be a feeling that you'll have with this. So, but if you actually start hitting it on the toe, then just ease off of that feeling a little bit to get it more in the center of the face. So it's just all about adjusting your feel to get the desired result that you want. So we'll go ahead and stop right there for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I'll be back here on Monday afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Hopefully you can join me at that time. Everybody have a great weekend, and I will talk to you next time.